Welcome.
Good day, everyone. My name is Manuel Angel, and today we're going to talk about how to get your career started. And the first step is to get started with this presentation. So let's move on. And the first question is, who am I, right? Well, my name is Manuel Angel. I've been in the tech industry for 7 years. I started as a recruiter, and in that gig, I hired around 350 people. So I know a thing or two about a thing or two. Then the business wanted to do a bit of marketing and social media for recruiting, and that's where I am right now. If you go to explore Oracle on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and pretty much everywhere, you can see some of the work that we do to sell Oracle as an employer. I also do a little branding for recruiting events. I make content, everything from blogs to photos to tweets. And if you wonder what someone like me does on their spare time, well, I love comics and video games. I love role-playing games, especially Final Fantasy and that kind of stuff. And I also do a bit of boxing on the side, which is always fun. Now, let's move on. And well, when I talk to students, they have a lot of questions about what they should do when they're about to graduate. They tell me the thing is that in school they teach me a lot of things. I've learned a lot, but I have no idea how to look for a job, which is a common concern and it's very valid. So the first thing you need to do is find out more about the industry you want to work in. Maybe it's tech, maybe it's something else, but find out what roles they're looking for, which companies are the top in that area, and based on that, start looking for those companies and what they offer. Then, if you're still in school, most universities have internal events, everything from conferences to job fairs, and take advantage of those. Sometimes I find that students don't really pay much attention to communications, but you may be missing out on some valuable opportunities there. Then, networking. Having friends is very important when looking for a job and getting your career started. Maybe that dude you met in the cafeteria knows about a company that's hiring. Maybe your professor got contacted by a company and knows about a job that you might be the right fit for. Making friends is very important, and you need to cultivate those friendships as well. Touch base with them and ask. Maybe they won't find you a job right now, but maybe down the line they could. And also find a community of professionals that you like. Maybe it's a Facebook group, maybe it's a website like Stack Overflow or something along those lines. There you can trade a lot of knowledge, not just on the industry, but on who's hiring and who's looking for what. And research your employers. In Mexico, we have an issue where people go to our offices in Mexico City and look for a job and say, hey, I'm a developer. Can I work in Oracle in Mexico City? And the answer is no, because most of our roles in Mexico City are sales. So, they knew a tech company was there, but they didn't know that the tech roles were somewhere else. So research is very important. And then we move on to the next step, which is preparing your resume. And that's where we're going. So let's talk about that resume of yours. The first question that a lot of people have is, how complex should it be? And my suggestion is usually keep it simple and elegant and readable. Some people just want to cram every single bit of information into a page or two, and you end up with these walls of text that are hard to screen, to be honest. Then only include relevant information that matches the role you're applying. For example, if you're a developer and you're applying to a role making HR software, maybe not include that video game you made. Maybe include more about your raw skills, right? Then don't forget about your complete contact information. I had a friend that told me, I can't find a job because recruiters never call me back. And I volunteered to take a look at his resume. And we realized that the reason that nobody was calling him back was because he didn't include his phone number. Might sound like an obvious thing, but mistakes happen. And keep it brief. 2 pages tops. A recruiter is going to spend about a minute on a resume, so say everything you need to say in the least amount of space possible, but always while thinking about being readable. Links to your work. If you're a designer or a content creator or even a developer, show me your work. Like, don't tell me about it. Give me a link to that software you made or to that website you designed or to your illustrations. Like, I want to see it. And remember that a resume, it's an elevator pitch. It's how you're selling yourself as a candidate to the company you're applying to. You have a minute to make a good first impression, and that is your resumes, to make it count. I am based in Mexico, and a common question I get is what language should I make my resume in? This might change based on the country, but if you're applying for a global company with global recruiters and global managers, English is the default. It's a language that we all understand in this business. And also, not every country has the same requirements. So investigate what's particular to your country. For example, based on the country, but if you're applying for a global company with global recruiters and global managers, English is the default. It's a language that we all understand in this business. And also, not every country has the same requirements. So investigate what's particular to your country. For example, your GPA. In Mexico, it's not customary. In Argentina, it is. So there are regional differences that you should always take into account. Preferences. These are a bit complicated because you're dealing with other people's data, and my suggestion is not include them, but have them ready. If an employer asks for them, you can say, hey, here they are, but only upon request. Don't put your best friend's phone number in there. He may not even want it there. Be respectful of other people's data. And LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile is basically an online resume, so make sure it looks nice, it's updated, and says everything that it needs to say. And finally, if you have any questions about your resume, find a reader. Hey, how does this look? How does this read? Anything I could improve, anything I could change, just ask. A fresh pair of eyes is usually very, very important. So let's look at some examples. First, on both of these resumes, you'll find that the information that they have is basically the same. The employer's experience, the skills, they have all the information that you might need from a candidate. But the formatting is super different. Why? Well, on the left, we kick our resume for a designer. And on the right, we have a resume for HR. Obviously, if you're a designer, you want to show the recruiter that you are creative and know your stuff. if you're in HR, well, you want to show the recruiter what you know and what you've done. So the approach is very different. Your resume should always match the role you're applying to. And now, a couple more examples. They're both, very simple but very valid. But what is the difference? On the left, we have an experienced resume, and on the right, we have a student resume. They're basically the same. But the student one doesn't include job experience because you're a student and we don't expect you to have experience. But it does include school projects and other activities that might result in some valuable skills for the job market. So if your skills are relevant to the role you're applying to, don't be afraid to include them. They're a part of you, and we want to get to know that part of you as well. So now let's talk about LinkedIn for a second. A lot of people tell me I've never been contacted by anyone on LinkedIn. Like people tell me that this is a place to look for a job, but I don't see the appeal. Like it doesn't work for me. And those people are often ignoring that on their profile there is a little green button that says, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" Make sure that that box says yes, because if it doesn't say yes, you're not gonna appear on searches, and recruiters are not gonna be able to find you. So that's probably the most important part about your LinkedIn. And also your skills. Make sure that all of your skills are there, and if you can get someone in your network to vouch for those skills, then they look a bit more legit. And also, do the whole recommendations thing, recommend people and get recommended, because that gives us more information about your skills and what you can do, and that allows us to know you better, and that gives you a better chance to get the job you're looking for. So the first dilemma is, how do you apply for a role? And the first step is to find the right channel to apply in. And this can vary from company to company. At Oracle, we have a website where you can look at all of the open roles, right? Some other companies might have an email address where you send your resume to a recruiter. Do a bit of research, look on their website, and find their careers channels, and apply there. And also recruiting events. There is a lot of recruiting events in pretty much every country. And if you want to start moving and networking, you should probably go. Maybe not right now, but even if you're graduating in a year, we would love to meet you. That's the thing here. And also, only apply to the jobs you're qualified for. I've encountered people that just apply to every open position they can. And That's unprofessional, and it shows a bit of a lack of respect for the recruiter. Then the business. Like, if you're not into sales, then keep applying to our sales roles. Recruiters are going to start ignoring you. Know the role. It's very important that you read the whole job description. Maybe at the bottom of the JD says that you need to travel, right? And you don't want to. So don't apply to it. You know, read the whole thing and know what the role implies. And if there's something in the job description that you're not sure what it means, look it up. A bit of research is always a good thing. If a recruiter contacts you, then you should ask all of the questions you have. That way, nothing is going to catch you off guard, and you'll know exactly if you like the role or not. And also, sometimes I encounter people that agree to an interview despite not really liking the role because they're afraid they're going to end up on some recruiter blacklist because they once declined a call or an interview. And that's not true. If you don't like the role, if it doesn't sound attractive to you, it's okay to say no. And also, after a call, a screening of any sort, some people are afraid to follow up. That's, I honestly don't know why. If you want to know what happened to your application, send an email and follow up. Don't be afraid. All right. A lot of people ask me, hey, the social media thing, the Facebook and Twitter, does it really work? You need to keep in mind. First, if you want to use social media to start your career, you need to be in social media. That is the first step. Don't just look for jobs on the talk about the job. If you're a developer, talk about code and best practices. Show us what you know, and not just to us, but to other people. Engage with people. Talk to people. Maybe argue with people if you disagree. But always be kind and polite. At Oracle on Instagram, we had this candidate that wanted to apply for a marketing role. And his way to engage with us was telling us on Instagram, hey, Oracle, your account sucks. I can make it better. We are not considering that person because it's definitely not the right fit for the company. We are inclusive and educated and polite. So someone that insults us is not getting the job. And also, if you're in a professional community and someone has a question, then, well, you can answer that question and help out. That maybe shows that you know stuff and that you know the business, the technology, the anything, right? And the thing about these questions is that you don't know who this person might be. Maybe it's a recruiter, maybe it's a hiring manager, or maybe it's someone from the business that knows what openings they have in that particular business unit in that company. Helping people with their questions is a very good way to promote yourself as a professional. And speaking of professionals, find the key people that you want. Find influencers. Do the research. The research. Hey, who is the evangelist for this technology? Who do they have that talks to people about this marketing department? Find these people and engage with them. And then there is content. A lot of people ask me, well, I don't know what to post on my channels. And the answer is, well, what do you feel like posting? Who is your audience? And what is your goal? You know, if your audience is to show people that to know all about JavaScript, then blog about JavaScript. If you want to show people that you are the best at marketing, then give us a take on Instagram algorithms. Show us what you got and post based on the audience that you want and find your goal for your channels. If your goal is to share is to say that you have a cool cat, well then give us pictures of your cat. It's not gonna get you a job, but it's a cat and it's probably awesome. And also be yourself. I often encounter people that just retweet stuff and think this shows the recruiters that they know stuff, and that's not true. This just shows us that you know how to use the retweet button. You know, we want your opinion, your personality, your takes. That is what we want from your channels. And now we come to the interview. If it's a phone interview, then please don't multitask. I've had an instance where a candidate was on the phone with me and was playing what I think was Clash of Clans. So that shows maybe that he's not that interested in the role. Be on time. 5 minutes before the interview is just fine. An hour, 30 minutes, it might be a bit much. And do your research. That's a type on the slide there, but I apologize. On the company, on the role, on the person that's interviewing you. That way you can know how to communicate and talk to the person, right? And make sure that you speak the same language and develop a bit of empathy, which goes a long way. Speak of your accomplishments, not hypotheticals. I often encounter candidates then go, well, if I had the resources, what I would do is this, this, and this. And those are often ideal dream scenarios. Instead of telling me what you would do, tell me what you have done in the past. You had a problem, tell me how you solved it, right? Not how you would solve a problem if you encountered it. Maybe that's just not valid information if you think about it. And elaborate. I often find candidates that are just very monosyllabical. Yes, no, maybe. And that doesn't give us any information on what you can do. Just so give us a complete answer. Tell us more stuff. Be willing to learn. You are students. We don't expect you to know absolutely everything there is to know, but we expect you to be willing to learn. I had a candidate that was, oh no, I love this role. This is for me. I want this. This is my passion. You have to know C++. I don't like C++, and honestly, I would rather not work with it, but this is my passion, and this is my role. If the role requires a language, then you have to be willing to learn it. That's the chance we're giving you, and you have to take it. Doubt does not help anyone. If you have a question about the role, the salary, the benefits, anything, ask that question. That way you know, then we know, and we can work better on finding you the role or making sure that you are the right fit for this role. And I often find that students on that first job, they just want to get the job, right? They just want that one job, and that solves everything. And that's not quite correct. If you're at an interview, maybe ask about a career path. Maybe it's a dead-end job that you don't want, or maybe they offer a promotion and growth and options for you to move to a different process. Ask about where you're going to be in the company in a year, in 5 years, if that's what you're into. And if their response is not what you want, then maybe the role's not for you and you have to look elsewhere. Dress for success. This is a very common question that I get. What should I wear to an interview? You know? And the answer is it depends, which is a very common answer apparently. If it's a sales role, then you have to, you know, wear a tie and whatnot. If it's a creative role, then you can be a bit more casual. And if you totally don't know what kind of company you're applying to, then be formal. That is a nice default. And you can be overdressed, but not underdressed. And again, a lot of candidates are afraid to follow up. You don't have to. If you have a question about the process, the interview, what happened, send us an email or maybe a thank you letter. That shows that you're interested in the role. The process is not always straightforward, so maybe there's a delay in getting you an offer, and if that's the case, just ask us, really. And this is a pet peeve of mine. Avoid buzzwords. Like some people will find that right now we are looking for uh, we're looking for people that know the latest tech, and they give me all of the buzzwords about the latest tech, right? They go machine learning, they go adaptive intelligence, and the blockchain, and all of this. And between all of these buzzwords, they never tell me anything about themselves. So don't get lost in the marketing pitch. We're not looking for the buzzwords for the market. We're looking for you. Okay, so now let's talk about some other tips, right? Job boards and aggregators, be wary of them. They get data from the companies, but that data is not always up to date. So the role that you're applying to on a job board may not be open. So you find a role that you like on Monster or whatever, maybe look for that role on the company website and apply there. Maybe for your resume, your thank you letter, your follow-up email, if you don't know where to start, find a template. They're very useful, but customize that template. Don't just go stock because that's not you, that's stock. And social media, don't watch, update them, look for them, engage with them. Some people will go like, oh, my LinkedIn profile does not work, but I haven't updated it since 2012. Well, there is your answer. You need to update. Write down the names of roles you like. Maybe down the line in 5 years you would want a role in data center management. And now you know the name of that role, so you can look for it later. But even if you don't get a role, then you know how to find it down the line. So it's important. Develop skills outside of your expertise. Anything that you do, volunteering work, or maybe a hobby, or just anything can give added value to your career. Maybe, you record a podcast, and that gives you the skill to record a webinar like this. Or maybe you volunteer at a shelter, and that's giving you people skills. That everything that you do, every skill that you get from pretty much anywhere can give you an added value in the job market, and that's important. Keep up with the news. Maybe that way you find a new company that's coming to town, or maybe that the market is suddenly looking for experts in virtual reality. There's no such thing as enough information, so keep yourself informed. And a common mistake that I find is that some people, after they get the job, they forget about their network. They don't talk to people anymore. And, well, that's a big no. Keep working on these relationships because you never know when they're going to help you move forward in your career. Maybe they point you to a course or a new job down the line, or maybe you decide to start a company with these people. Don't let this to network just go by. Do not forget about it. Okay? And that is all on my part. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone.